session and you can take it from there. So, welcome everyone to the B.NET webinar series. So, today's session is on location map API in Windows, and the speaker is Senthil Kumar. So, I think Senthil, you can take over from here and just complete it, and then we have the Q&A session. In case if you have any questions in between, you can just ping Senthil, and I think he can able to take it up.
Sure, Kartika, I'll take it forward. Yeah. Hi everyone, welcome to the B.NET webinars. Today's session is all about the location API and maps in Windows Phone 8, and this will be a level 100 session and is targeted for developers interested in getting started with Windows Phone 8 development and who wanted to use the location and maps in their app. Okay. The session will basically cover some of the introductory concepts related to the location API and maps in Windows Phone 8. And I'll also try to cover some good number of demos on the location API and maps in Windows Phone 8 during this session as well. In case you find any problem in if you're not able to listen to me, hear me properly, you can just put a message, or you can just ping me on so I can look into that and fix it immediately, and then we can continue the session as well. So let's get started. About me, well, I'm Senthil Kumar. I work for Trivium Solutions, a Bangalore-based software house. Trivium provides end-to-end product engineering services to global ISVs and technology companies. We have an active group which focuses on Microsoft technologies for enterprise internet and mobile solutions. I'm a B.NETer and a regular member of the Bangalore .NET User Group. B.NET User Group is one of the premier and active .NET user groups targeting Microsoft technologies in and around Bangalore. I am also a Windows Phone enthusiast and share some of my Windows Phone and mobile development findings in my mobileosgeek.com blog. You can also catch me up with my Twitter handle @isenthil. So next we'll get started with the agenda. The agenda for today's session is very simple and straightforward. We'll start with the introduction to the location provider or location sensing technologies which is used in Windows Phone or generally in other smartphones as well, and slowly get introduced to the Windows Phone runtime location API. And then we'll also look into the Geolocator class and how you can use it to get the current location of the Windows Phone. We'll also try to understand what are the capabilities and which ones needs to be used in your app if you are using the location and the maps to work fine, even for the marketplace submission as well. Then we'll head over to the built-in Maps app in Windows Phone and see how to quickly develop an app using the inbuilt Maps app as well. And lastly, we'll cover some of the Windows Phone maps control in Windows Phone 8. And then we'll end up with the Q&A session. Maybe in the last 5 to 10 minutes, we'll keep that for a Q&A. So location providers. Windows Phone 8 SDK provides simple APIs for the developers to work with the geo coordinates or geographical locations in their apps. The API in Windows Phone hides a lot of things from the developer so that the developer need not worry about the working of the providers or the hardwares, but just focus on his logic in building the app. The developer also has the privilege to specify the accuracy at which locations should be retrieved, and the Windows Phone does the rest by deciding, okay, which provider should I use to get the location. So there are generally 3 techniques which a phone uses to identify the geographical location. The first one is the GPS, which is a GPS. It stands for satellite. It is generally a satellite based positioning system. It provides more accurate result of the locations when accessed from the phone. It is just an extension of the GPS. Note that when a GPS is used, it significantly consumes a lot of power, and hence the developer should use this only when the application needs highest accuracy of the location. And also note that it doesn't work indoors. The next technique is using the cell tower. This technique is simply the triangulation with multiple cell towers. The phone's current location is identified based on the distance and the ping time between different or each towers, which is close by. It uses less power compared to GPS and is less accurate. The accuracy may increase as more towers are included in the identification of the current location or the location calculation. This technique works well indoors, but if you also if you're using it somewhere outside the city or in some remote places where the signal strength is very low, it is difficult to get the accurate result as such. The last technique we are going to talk about is the Wi-Fi. This uses less power than the GPS and can provide better accuracy than cell tower technique. It relies on global location database of Wi-Fi networks and the phone's capability to just locate and identify the Wi-Fi networks within its reach. And by using these techniques, the Windows Phone communicates and then identifies the location. Coming back to the Windows Phone location, Windows Phone runtime location, which is the where I mentioned it as WinPRT. It's nothing but the Windows Phone runtime, the short form for it. So what's new in Windows Phone 8 location API? Or in short, what are the features of Windows Phone runtime location API? Firstly, you have the new Geolocator class to identify and track the location. In the earlier versions of Windows Phone, that's Windows Phone 7.5, we had something called Geo Coordinate Watcher, which is still supported and is in the Windows Phone 8. But if you're developing a Windows Phone 8 app, it is recommended or preferred to use the Geolocator class in case if you're targeting the Windows Phone 8 devices. Then we have the new mapping technology powered by the Nokia Maps and the new Maps control, which is now part of the Windows Phone SDK. Note that the Maps API in Windows Phone 7.5 and earlier version was using Bing Maps. Although it's still supported in Windows Phone 8, it is deprecated, but the most preferred way of using is using the new Maps API. And regarding the managed and the native code, if you're developing a native app, for example, using C++ and Direct3D, you can use this API. You can still use the same API if you're developing using C# or even XAML app as well. And fourth one is the convergence with the Windows 8. You could reuse some of the location code which you develop with Windows Phone 8, where you use the Windows Phone runtime APIs, which can still be used in the Windows Phone 8 in Windows 8 as well. And the last point is the background location tracking, which is another feature being added to the Windows Phone 8. Okay, let's go into a demo of how the existing location tracking is done with the Windows Phone 7.5. So what I have is a fairly simple project or a simple form which has two labels which just displays the latitude and the longitude. And what I do is I'm using the Geo Coordinator here. I instantiate a new Geo Coordinate Watcher, and tag this position changed event. So every time when the position of the the location changes, this event will be fired, and the corresponding latitude and the longitude is picked up and then updated. And also note that I need to start the watcher, geocoordinate watcher, and then stop it when necessary. This is nothing but a simple enum which says, okay, geo position permission is granted or not. In case if the user has disabled the location services in the Windows Phone in his device, as a safe measure we could check, okay, if the user has enabled it or not, and then we could start the geo coordinates here. So let me try to run this app. So it's trying to connect to the emulator. Okay, let me try to use a different emulator. So it's trying to deploy the app to the, yeah. So we are here now. So I hit the start button. So now what has happened is the current location that is pinned on the map is picked. So as and when the location changes, the position change event will also be fired, and the appropriate latitude and the longitude will also change on the UI. We'll come back to the additional tools that we see on the emulator in the coming demo. So we'll hit back to the slides again. Okay, we just saw that the Windows Phone 7 API uses the Geo Coordinate Watcher class to find the phone's location. Again, as said, this is still supported in Windows Phone 8, but it's always recommended to use the new Geolocator API for accessing the locations. The Geolocator class can be used by your app to monitor the location of the phone. It contains events, properties, and other necessary things to monitor hardware state changes and geographical position changes. The Geolocator class includes some of the interesting properties like desired accuracy, which allows the developers to specify the desired accuracy of the coordinates. If you see this, if you set this property to say default, then the operating system decides the accuracy level. When you set this to I, then the operating system prefers the accuracy of the GPS. So these are just an enum values that you set. When you say default, the operating system decides the accuracy level on its own, or when it is set to I, it always prefers the GPS. As a best practice, use the default option, which is the power optimized accuracy settings, unless you require the highest level of accuracy is required. Lower accuracy means also that it consumes less power and obviously will increase the battery life as well. Desired accuracy in meters is another property which lets the operating system choose a mechanism for geolocation. This is a double value where the lower the value you set will cause the phone to prefer the accuracy of a GPS and settings. When you set the desired accuracy in meters, this will override the desired accuracy property. And the third property is the movement threshold. The movement threshold is generally to indicate how often the position changed event should be raised when the position changes. As a recommended approach, set the value to 20 or less so that the position change event will not be raised so frequently. The Geolocator class also exposes the events like position change, which is raised when the change in location is detected. It also has another event status change. This event is raised when the underlying location service changes its states, like receiving data, disabled, or initializing, and those kind of states. So how do we get the current phone's location in Windows Phone 8 using the Geolocator class? It's pretty simple and straightforward, and it's just with some 2 or 3 lines of code you'll be able to get this. All that you do is create an instance of the Geolocator class and set the properties. Properties like the accuracy level and so on. Currently in the screen what you see is the accuracy level is not set, so it takes the default accuracy level. And then simply call the get geoposition async method without parameters. With parameters is where you can give the value, say what is the maximum age or the timeout when the method should exit. You should also use the get geoposition async method so that you don't need to subscribe to the position changed event when all you need is just to get a single reading. So you just wanted to get a simple location instead of binding it to a say position changed event and then finding out the position there. You could simply call the get geoposition async method, and it is also recommended for you to use the get geoposition async method when you don't require tracking at all, so that the better battery life is also assured with a good user experience as well. So next you have the capabilities. So when you wanted to use a location or maps or even any other Windows Phone hardware capabilities, it is necessary for you to set this in your application. You have to set the location capability, which is highlighted in the screenshot, in your Windows Phone project for your app to work with the location fine. If these capabilities are not defined in your app, then when you run your application, you'll get an unauthorized exception when running the application. The capabilities, what are these capabilities? The capabilities are generally something that the user is notified of the functionality that your app is utilizing when he is using the app. These are the, for example, if your app is using location or map, when you specify this in the capabilities and submit to the marketplace, and when the user tries to download and install the app, it indicates to the user saying that, hey, your app is using locations and map. Do you want to download and install this app? Now the user can decide whether should he install the app or not based on this information shown to him. And setting the capabilities in the project is also pretty simple. Just open the application manifest file, which opens up a designer like the way you see in the screenshot here, and just enable this option here for the location. So then we have the location and the Windows Phone 8 emulator. The emulator provides some other additional tools that allows the users to quickly test their app when they're using the location APIs. Yeah, so we'll just hit back directly to the demo to understand how the geolocator works, and we'll also get to know something about the additional tools as well. So I already have a demo being set, so let me switch it off. So I have another app where I have a button says locate. When I hit the button locate, I need to get the current location of the phone, and there are two labels here which are shown to basically list out the latitude and the longitude. So what's the logic behind writing this code? You see, it's again 3 to 4 lines of code. First, I initialize or instantiate the geolocator class and set the properties. For example, here I've set the desired accuracy in meters to 50. I could also check or change the desired accuracy to say default or I. When I give the value as I, then it always prefers GPS. In case of default, the Windows Phone decides what to do. And then I use the geolocator instance, and then I call the get geoposition async method. I call the get geo async method. Note that I'm using the await keyword and the asynchronous keyword, and this is because of the asynchronous calling this method which runs in different thread, that's on the composition thread. So then once I get the geo position, what I do is I get the coordinates from the location and then pass it on to the text box or the label, sorry. So let me try to run this app as well. So it's trying to deploy. So now let me hit the locate button now. Already there is a location being pinned on the additional tools in the maps that you see here. Hide the location button. So now all that it did was it got me the coordinate, and that's the latitude and the longitude onto those two respective labels. You'll also see that whatever the pinned labels, latitude and longitude, is also shown in the additional tools as well. So that was about using the Geolocator class. So this was simple. So next let's look into the features or the additional tools that you see in the Windows Phone emulator, which allows the developer to quickly test his apps. So first thing that you notice is the search bar, where I could say search a particular location and the map can directly zoom into that particular place. I say New Delhi. And the map tries to zoom in the level to the place. Okay, so next we have something called the current location. So whenever I pin a particular, let me zoom in further. So what I do is I start pinning a location. So each and every time when I try to pin the location, you'll also see that the latitude and the longitude of that is also added in the below place here. So I can keep on pinning different locations which will be shown here. I'll be able to zoom in and zoom out with these buttons out here. Then we have this live mode. Live mode is as and when I start pinning the locations, the location's latitude and longitude is also retrieved. Another option is I can disable by I can toggle this by say unchecking this, and then I can pin the locations and then fire and run this every few seconds, so that each and every time you see the latitude and longitude changing based on what is already been pinned. So then I have an option to clear all the points that I have already pinned in. So I also have an option to save my map points into a file and later on reload the locations as well. So let me zoom in here. Let me also open the Maps application in the Windows Phone. And what you see is the current location, whatever I'm using on the additional tools, is already the map in my Windows Phone emulator is been able to identify that and go into that position as well. So let me check a location here. So it's taking some time. It's trying to zoom in. You'll see that the pin that I've pinned on the location, that's 1, is been shown on even the map on the emulator as well, right, somewhere here. So all that I can do is I can even keep on moving from one location to other in the additional tools, which will also be reflected in the device as well, where you see the emulator's map also picking up those points that have been pinned. Yeah. So these are some of the features, and then you have this recorded data. After you load, or you'll be able to save the complete pinned points into a file, and later on you'll be able to load the same XML file back to the additional tools, where you could use it for testing the same scenarios again and again. Okay, so let's come back to the slide again. So another interesting feature with the Windows Phone 8 and the SDK is the background location tracking. In the Windows Phone 7.5, the apps that uses the location tracking could have an issue when the events are being lost, because the apps, the scenario where the app can be deactivated, or it can go into dormant state, or when the app is tombstone, for example, the position change even could be discarded. In Windows Phone 8, you don't have to worry about that. There is a slightly an interesting way of making sure that the application or the location tracking can still run in the background. You can specify, or you can tell the Windows Phone that your app is a special kind of app. It's a location tracking app, where location tracking can still run in the background, although another app runs in the background. So to set your app as a location tracking app, all that you have to do is, in the application manifest file, you have to add the background execution element to the default task that you see here, like the way shown in the code sample here. There is also a restriction where only one location tracking app can be run in the background at any time. The most recently opened location tracking app takes the precedence in this case. If there are any existing location tracking app that was running, then they'll be made dormant or tombstone, and the current location tracking app will be run. So let's have a quick demo of how the background location tracking will work. So I already have an app which is basically from the Windows Phone samples, where you see an application. And now let me open the manifest file now to see where exactly I need to tell how do I set this application is a location tracking app. I can right click on that wm app manifest.xml file and say open with. By default, when you double click on this, it will open in a GUI. So let's try to open this in an XML editor and then see how we can add this XML tag as well. I double click on the XML text editor, so now I should see the XML file here. So this is the XML view of the application manifest file. There, under the tasks, this node is already there. So what I did was I just added the location tracking into this. So this, when I'm adding this and when I'm submitting to the marketplace, your phone will, your app will also be identified as okay, it's a location tracking, and whenever you wanted to run it in the background to track the location, yes, this can be achieved. So then what other things this app has is, let me go to the page 2. Let me directly run the app, so that will give a fairly good idea of how this works. So this is the first page that I have. Let me hit the page, go to page 2. This shows me the current latitude and the longitude. So then let me hit the start button and let me select some other place. So immediately what I saw was a toast notification which is being displayed whenever a location is changed. The logic for the toast notification is written by us. So, but the whole point of this sample is to show an example of how the location tracking can work in the background as well. Because currently your application is not in the foreground, but still the location tracking is okay. So let me open another app here, and so I've been running the Internet Explorer here, another app again, but still I was able to get the change in the location as a notification for me. Right, so that's one of the interesting feature in the Windows Phone 8 SDK as well. So let's get back to the next slide. Okay. Next we have the built-in Maps app in the Windows Phone 8. The Windows Phone 8 SDK has 4 different launchers that are related to the maps specially. These launchers are nothing but a mechanism where you could launch the built-in applications from the phone. For example, you want a launcher to display the list of contacts. So you want a launcher to make a phone call, or you want a launcher to send an email. So all this possible with the launchers in Windows Phone. The first one of the launcher is the Maps task launcher, which will simply launch the Maps application. Then you'll be able to provide search strings to find out, okay, the current location on the map. Next we have the Maps directions task, which will still launch the Maps application and display the driving directions between the specified points. Do you want to download the maps for the offline use from the app? Yes, you can do that with the Maps downloader task. If you want to update the maps that are already being downloaded offline, then you can use the Maps updated task. Without waiting or wasting much time on just going through this slide about the built-in Maps app, let's go into the quick demo of how this built-in Maps app looks like in the Windows Phone 8 SDK. So I have another small app built which has 4 buttons here for each of the tasks. The last one is Maps updater, it's not Maps downloader. And when I see the logic of each and every button click event, you see that there is some set of code here. First is the Maps task. What it does is, I've created an instance of the Maps task and specified the search term to say, okay, hey, show me the search term of hotel somewhere nearby to the current location. And I've set the zoom level to 2. And the Maps task.show method will display the Maps application by applying these properties as well. So let me try to run this and start using the first option. So let me clear all the points and let me hit some other place. Let me come back to Bangalore. And let me pin this. So let me click on the Maps task. So now this will open up the Maps application on the Windows Phone. What you see is the pins on the map which was already there where I pinned the locations in Delhi. So let me clear the map and let me click on the Me option. So I come back to Bangalore again. So now it's the same thing as this. I've been passing the search term as hotel, which is already been set in the search term here. So when the phone started searching from the current location, it started giving me the hotels or the places which has the keyword hotel near the place that I reside. And I can click on that or just to identify, okay, what is the place and the contact details and other things. Right. So then let me go back to the next thing. Next is the maps direction task. If you want to find out the direction from the source to the destination, you'll be able to use the maps direction task again. So again, this uses the Nokia maps again. For example, I've given the option of, say, show me the get me to a place called Domlur Flyover in Bangalore, and the second parameter I've given it as null, which indicates that it's the current location. Okay, let me go to the emulator again. So let me hit back and let me hit the maps direction task. So it's trying to find out from the current location to the Domlur Flyover, which is pretty close by to the location here. So it starts from 1. So let me hit the 1. So every time when I tap each and every option here, it shows me the direction one by one until I reach the destination. And once I reach the destination, I could also see that here. Right. So that was about the maps direction task. The third one is the map downloader task. Say currently it works with the live system where it tries to access the GPR as an internet connection and tries to zoom in and then download some things for the map. So instead of doing that, I wanted to make sure that I have the map offline, and when I'm trying to use the maps application, I can use the downloaded maps always. So in that case, what I can do is I can create an instance of the maps downloader task and simply call the show method. This will open up a settings icon or a settings app where the user can select the map or the place of the map where he can download. So let me come back. So let me hit tap the maps downloader task. So this is showing me the list of the maps that's already downloaded. So currently there are no maps as such, so not been downloaded. So it's still trying to identify them. So okay, so now when I want to download a new app, I need to click the plus button here. So this will show me the list of all the continents available where the mapping exists. So then I can say, okay, let me download the maps of Asia. So then within Asia, I can also select, say, I don't need the complete Asia as such. I need to go into one of the place. Maybe I need a location of Karnataka. So to download the Karnataka map, I tap on that. It asks me for a confirmation. Do you want to download? Downloading this map will take few minutes, and do you want to download or not? I can hit the download button. So this will start the download of the maps, and it will keep it offline. So once the download is done, next time when you try to use the maps application, it will always be offline. Right. Okay. The last option is the maps updater option, where if you want to update the map which is already downloaded, you can use this option. So when you use this option, it will again take you to the same setting screen where you will be able to select which map you want to update as well. So that was about the built-in apps. So let me go to the let's go back to the slide again. Yeah. So next are the Maps API in Windows Phone 8. The Windows Phone 8 SDK provides new mapping control and namespaces which could be utilized by the developers to include mapping functionality in their application. Right. So these are some of the new namespaces that you see in the Windows Phone 8 SDK. That's the maps and the new map control powered by the Nokia Maps. Okay. So to create a map, you can create a map either using XAML by adding the necessary XAML tag in the XAML view, or you can also create the map control in the code behind using C# like the way it is shown below, and then add it to the container. Note that the map control requires an API key to function in production. So the maps loaded event can be utilized to specify what is the application ID and the authentication ID that you need to specify. You don't need the API keys during the development of your app, but you need it while in the production. When you want to submit it to the marketplace, yes, you need it at that point of time. You can get the API keys for your app during the just before the marketplace submission. Let me show you quickly how to get the Maps application ID and the API key. Just showing you here. So I'm already in the marketplace submission here for one of my application. So what you see is my current submission is an app called Number Converter for Windows Phone 7. I want to complete the submission. I haven't yet submitted the ZAP file name yet. So during the submission, I'm supposed to give the necessary application info, upload those ZAP files, and if you just scroll down, you'll also see an section called optional, where you have an option of a map services, which can be used to get the tokens required for using the maps in your application. So let me click the map services. Okay, this will show me the when you click on this, this will show me the application ID and the authentication token, which I can use in my application. So let me come back. Yeah. So once you got the application ID and the password, application ID, key and the things necessary from the marketplace store, you have to add that to the map component. So which is already there in the map as one of the properties in the map control. So next we have the capabilities. Like the way we do for locations, we also have something for maps. So when a map is being added to your application, you need to set the capabilities. Another capability that you need to set is this ID_cap_map. This is necessary, or if you don't include this and yet include the map control in the screen or in the page, you will receive an unauthorized exception as well. Okay, so this is one important aspect where you need to add these capabilities as well. Okay, the map also includes other features and properties like a cartographic mode, where you can set, okay, what is the mode that the application should show, something like aerial view or a hybrid view or a road view or a terrain view. And you can also set the color modes for your map control to say a dark or a light mode. So let's go into the maps demo now. So let me start this. So I already have something. So let me run the app. So there is an exception. Let me check that. There is an error. Okay, it says it's been already used by another port. I think another app is already running. So let me close that app. So let me start this. Start the maps application. So before going to start the app, let me remove this map and the location capability on the form on the application, and let me go to the screen. What you see in the form is a map control and a simple button being shown. And to add a map control, all that you can do is in the toolbox you can search for the maps and drag and drop onto the screen, and you are done with it. So let me try to build the project and then run it. It's trying to deploy. So let's wait for a few seconds. So you should see the app running. So now this is what I wanted to demonstrate. We got an error. The map control is already added to the form. Then the capabilities are not set. So since the capabilities are not set, it throws an XAML parse exception. So let's try to again set the capabilities back, and let me try to run it. So now the map has been able to be shown on the Windows Phone emulator now. What you see is a simple map where we haven't set any of the properties as such. So now let me go into it, go to the code, and on the button click, let me say I want to change the color mode to a different mode. What we saw here was dark mode. Let me change it to a light mode. So let me click the button. Okay, it's already in a light mode, so fine. So now I wanted to change the view or the view of the map to say a road view. So now what I'll do is the same logic that we applied to get the current coordinate, and let me set the zoom level of this to say 8. And let me set the view to a road view. Let me try to run that. And let me click the button. So now what you saw was it's able to pick the current location that I've pinned on the additional tools that you see in the location tab, and the map is able to show the same thing in the emulator as well. But the view, as you see, is changed now to a road view. So similarly, if you want to change it to some other view as well, you'll be able to set that to say aerial, hybrid or terrain, and the same thing applies to the color mode as well, to say dark or light. So let's hit back to the demo again. I think we are well on time. Okay. So that was all about the Windows Phone 8 and the maps and the location APIs in the Windows Phone 8 SDK, and how we could utilize them to develop an app. Right. So this was basically an introduction session. We'll try to get into depth in the upcoming webinars from the B.NET team. So that was all about the session. So in case of any questions, you could let's take up the Q&A in case if you have any questions. Okay, I think Manas has a question on what are the other APIs available for this. Well, APIs, currently the SDK has the APIs for the location and maps. I'm not sure about what other APIs you're expecting out of it. But yes, still you will be able to use the APIs which was already being defined for the Windows Phone 7.5 as well. And that was about the other APIs. So maybe let me also see if there is any other third-party APIs that we can use, and then revert to you back, Manas. I'll try to post it on my blog or on the B.NET User Group as well on this. Okay, Sharad has a question on how can we reduce the usage of the battery. Okay, that's an interesting and a good question as well. When we are using the Geolocator class, what we saw in the example or a code sample was there was a property say desired accuracy, right? So when it is not necessary to get the accurate result, maybe even approximate result would also be fine, then we can always use the default option. Don't go for the accuracy of I. When you use an accuracy of I, obviously the phone will utilize the phone will prefer the GPS, and in this case the issue will be like GPS obviously takes a lot of consumes a lot of battery. So try to set that to default so that the phone decides, okay, what is the power optimized way of selecting the hardwares or the providers. Another thing is carefully use the position changed or the status changed event very carefully, because those are the ones that keep running in the background and goes on and on. When you want to get the coordinate once and forget it, then use the get async geolocation method instead of using the status changed or the position changed event. I think that's one of the best option to try to reduce the usage of the battery, especially when using the location APIs. And fine. And are there any other questions? I got two. I hope both the questions were answered. So I'll wait for another, say, 2 to 3 minutes to see if you guys have any other questions, and then we could proceed on. Okay, folks, I think we're almost done. I think it's exactly 4:01. I think we are on time. We were on time, 30 minutes for 1 hour. So thanks for thanks for attending the session, and we'll also be hosting more webinars on the Windows Phone series in the coming weeks. Then every 15 days once we'll have a webinar as well, and the next session or a webinar being planned is in August 3rd Saturday, where another B.NET team member will be taking a session on Windows Phone 8 features. Thanks again everyone for attending it, and keep attending, keep watching, provide your feedbacks in the B.NET user group and the Facebook user group website, and let us know what you feel about the webinars as well, if it was useful or yes or no, and fine, should be. Thanks folks, thanks, and see you again for the next webinar.